also is, okay, so we've talked now about what are some gender stereotypes and what are things that prevent us from engaging in a negotiation in our own lives. But to get back to, what this conversation is about is, how do these stereotypes then affect how we negotiate? How does this have to do with gender? And I think two important things that I found, at least in the research that we did prior to this, is these biases exist and stereotypes exist, and typically for women it ends up affecting them in kind of a twofold way. And there are two narratives that are typically agreed on. One being the tameness narrative, which basically states that women's negotiations suffer because women are insufficiently ambitious or assertive and may be less likely to ask for things in the first place. The second narrative is the backlash narrative, or the backlash effect. And that states or suggests that when women do engage in an assertive negotiation, they face backlash because people may not think it's appropriate for women to behave aggressively. Or in other words, dominant behavior is associated with men and directly contradicts the warmth and friendliness expected from women. And thus backlash is experienced by women who initiate negotiations more so than their male counterparts.
And that usually creates a double bind, where we have discussed that in previous chat of change as well. But a double bind is practically women face a double bind when they negotiate, because they either negotiate not that hard and not that aggressive, and they usually become more agreeable earlier within the negotiation, so the outcome of the negotiation is not the best it could have been, because they kind of back off, or they seem very difficult. Like if they do negotiate very harsh and very aggressive and very in a very different way than expected, then they are perceived as difficult. So they are damned if they do and damned if they don't. So that creates a double bind, unfortunately, in women's mind. And this, unfortunately, has a compounding effect on the gender gap, because our research showed that most of the times women tend to be more agreeable due to this double bind, so that they don't show and are perceived as difficult. So they start concluding, let's say, the negotiation earlier than they should, which creates worse results for them. And a very easy way to showcase that is the salary gap between men and women, because in the long term, when you negotiate your salary throughout time, at the end of your career, the compounding effect of this salary is huge. And we see these huge differences in managerial positions where males get paid much more money than females.
Right. I think it's very interesting that this double bind kind of forces women to not be. You can be the most confident women in your company, in your industry, or whatever, but this double bind kind of forces you, when you get into a negotiation, to lose that confidence a bit.